What's up, guys? We're back with another Overwatch review, taking a look at the first of what I hope is an array of deluxe figures in the line. Basically, Build-A figures that aren't Build-A figures for the Overwatch line. So we're taking a look today at Reinhardt, and this guy comes in just a comically oversized box. I mean, look how big this thing is. It's absolutely massive. There's a reason why it's this big, but it's still just huge, and it's crazy, and it's not at all the size that I expected it to be. That said, though, it's a pretty nice presentation. So he comes in a package that is similar to the other figures in the line, just larger scale. So he's there in a window. We've got some Reinhardt artwork on the front. We've got the logo down there at the bottom. And then the back of the package has got more artwork, stats for Reinhardt, and then some artwork that displays the other characters that get figures in this first wave. So let's do it. Let's pop this big boy out and take a look. And here he is out of his enormous package, our Reinhardt figure. This is, I guess, maybe the star of the show for me so far when it comes to these Overwatch figures. I have been pretty happy with them so far, and I've looked at more figures than I have gotten around to reviewing already. But Reinhardt is just a ton of fun to play around with. And for this particular line, I'm really, really happy with how they did this, because of the fact that this guy is basically a Build-A-Figure. And when I say he's a Build-A-Figure, he is even more than your standard Build-A-Figure, because he is enormous, and he just has a lot going on. Not to mention the fact that he's only $40 normal retail, and if he had been an actual Build-A-Figure, all the other figures wouldn't have had as many accessories. So I'm very happy with the model that they're going with for this particular line, and I just like this figure. He's not perfect. He does have some limitations, and of course he is really bulky, so that kind of plays a factor into it. So let's take a look at articulation, see what this guy can do, and maybe some of the things he has trouble doing. So the head is kind of limited, but he's in his humongous suit of armor. It's not too crazy to think about that. So he can go down, he can go up a little bit, and then he can go side to side, and then he rotates. So he does have actual bobble action there. The arms go out and they are ratcheted. They swivel. You've got hinging shoulder pads, bicep swivel, single jointed elbow, which is kind of standard for a Build-A-Figure, if that's how you want to consider this. Hinges and rotation at the wrist. He has a diaphragm swivel. He goes back a little and then forward a little. The codpiece thing here is on a hinge. It flips. He's got a dumbbell joint down here at the crotch piece, so his legs kick forward and backward, and then they hinge outward a little bit, and you can also rotate in there. You've got double jointed knees. They're really, really stiff, but they do work pretty well, which is honestly good. You don't want them to be flimsy. And then we've got rocker, and we've got hinges down at those ankles that work pretty well. I don't have too much of a problem putting this guy into any real poses. I've been pretty successful with his articulation scheme, with getting him into some interesting and fun poses, and he just works really well. You know, he is bulky, he is big, and that definitely plays a factor into what he can and can't do. But for a figure of this size, with this type of articulation, I'm really happy with the way he moves. I think he is nicely done. Now, for me personally, he is articulated pretty well, but it all comes down to the look and the feel and the size and the sculpt. And, you know, the box is comically enormous because it has to accommodate his interesting shield that he comes with, but the figure is still quite massive, and I'll do some size comparisons to give you an idea. But this guy is, even on the scale of Legends Build-A-Figures, he is still larger than average. He's not going to tower over your Build-A-Figures by any means, but he has a lot of heft and bulk. There is a ton of sculpted detail here, and maybe the one area where, you know, they could have added more, or stuff that most folks are probably going to gripe about in terms of, you know, what's lacking, is paint and shading and stuff like that. The figure is done up in that kind of marbly plastic, which, you know, some people don't like. I do like it. I think it looks nice, and he shines pretty well in the light. You can see that just under my lights here, that he definitely has a nice sheen to him. He does have some paint, so we've got like the red and the yellow markings in his plating there, some of the warning labels on his armor. You've got some on the shield on the lion's crest here, and this guy is actually a removable piece because you apply that to the shield, to the effect piece that he comes with. But you've got a removable piece here if you want it, you know, kind of in its closed function there. And then of course he's got the yellow for his visor, but there is a lot of detail in there, you know, all like the large rivets and just the plated armor pieces that are sculpted and kind of placed on top of each other. You've got like the tubing that runs back to the rocket pack on the back, which of course does have the yellow paint on the inside for, you know, the engine, the turbine that's sort of spinning at all times in Reinhardt's chassis there, basically. So I do think he looks really, really nice. I really don't have too many complaints about it. For the price point, you know, you have to kind of take into consideration the fact that this guy's a $40 figure. You're not going to get tons and tons and tons of paint, and there's really not. And I know there's no way to really sugarcoat that. There's not a lot of paint, but they've applied it in the places that I think needed it the most. The little accents to break up the armor, to break up the suit, and just make it, you know, not look like one marbly piece of plastic. So the sculpt is definitely there. Could it use more paint? Sure, it definitely could, but I think what they did was pretty solid within the confines of this price point, and the fact of the matter is this figure is huge, and it just looks great. This very much looks like Reinhardt, so I'm really happy with the way he turned out, paint or no paint. And here is our quick size comparison, just to give you an idea of how big he truly is. So here he is next to the recent Kingpin Build-A-Figure, the White Ranger from the Lightning Collection, a Super 7 Filmation Skeletor, a NECA Predator, and Soldier 76 from the same Overwatch wave. So you can see that this guy is just massive. He definitely isn't necessarily in scale with everything, and I'm not going to fault it for that. The figure is large, it's a more expensive figure, and I definitely think you get all the plastic you deserve for this price tag. Now, as far as accessories goes, Reinhardt has basically the things that make him Reinhardt. So you have got the shield piece here that I've already mentioned. So this piece is removable and you take it out to use in conjunction with the actual shield energy effect. We have got his rocket hammer here, which he can hold in either hand. You can also get him to do two-handed poses as well. It is large enough and he is articulated enough to pull it off. So there is, you know, different colors of plastic going on. There is a little bit of paint on this thing. And then it is, you know, it's got the engines in the back. And it's just massive. It's humongous. It does pose a little bit of an issue sometimes because it is rather heavy with how you actually need to pose Reinhardt. So it makes his arm a little less than stable at sometimes. But it very much looks the part, and I mean, it's just a massive accessory. It's exactly what he needs. And whether you want to use the shield with him or not, this is the accessory that, I mean, he's always got to have it. And speaking of that shield, here is the shield. So, yeah, there you go. So this thing is like a big Tupperware lid, is really what a lot of folks are describing it as. But it honestly, I mean, it really looks the part. It's just kind of a goofy accessory. I mean, when you think about it, it basically obscures the entire figure from view. And it's got a peg here on the back, so you can peg it into the same slot that is that the lion's head goes in. But it's got, you know, the spot for the lion's head, so you pop it in the front. It's got the cross section on the front, and then it even has that design pattern to make it look like kind of the energy matrix when you deploy it in game. And it's huge. I mean, it's huge. This is why the box is so big. I don't know that I'm ever really going to use this thing in a display because, you know, it kind of obscures everything. But, you know, what they offer as well is they've got these little stands that come with it, so you can put the energy shield kind of on its own, maybe put it behind your figures or something, because he can wear it and he can wield it, but you can also kind of set it down as well. So there's two of these, and they'll just kind of sit down like that and allow you to put this thing flat on the shelf or on the ground or whatever you're going to do to help stabilize Reinhardt, but also to just display the thing. So whether I plan on using it or not is kind of irrelevant. It's a cool accessory. I think it's pretty well implemented. You know, it's kind of goofy at the same time because it's just so comically large, but it very much fits within the confines of this figure. And, you know, kudos to Hasbro for even adding it to the package. So overall, I really like this figure. Out of the ones that I've reviewed so far, I'd say Reinhardt is definitely my favorite. It's a huge figure. He's got a lot of great sculpted details. He is a little bit lacking in articulation, but we know what to expect with big, bulky figures at this point. It's nothing new, and he still moves around pretty well. He is kind of lacking in some paint details as well, but it's a $40 figure that is more than twice the size of a normal figure, so can you really complain? I'm leaning towards not so much. He still looks pretty fantastic. He also has all of his requisite accessories. The hammer is fantastically done. He can hold it really well. And even though the shield is kind of goofy, kind of weird to use in a conventional display setting, it's pretty functional still, and it's just crazy that they even included it. And that's why he has such a massive, comically oversized box. But at the end of the day, they gave us a very well-rounded figure with all the stuff he needs, and I can't complain about that. So that's going to do it for this look at the Hasbro Overwatch Ultimates Reinhardt figure. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.